This is Absolute's Navetta 48. Now the interesting thing about this one is it's the smallest boat in the Navetta range. So they go right up, I think go to 75 feet, but they start with a 48. This is it. And what's interesting is that despite being the smallest, it is nonetheless full-on Navetta. All the stuff that you get in the big ones, of course it's scaled down, maybe less cabins or whatever, but you still nonetheless get the full Navetta experience. In fact, I'll show you on here. Here we go, here's the Navetta range. You can see we've got the 48, 53, 58, 64, 68, 70, and I was right, 75. There we are. Makes a change for me to be right, doesn't it? Lift platform on here will lift up to 300 kilograms, so you can put a nice tender on there if you want to. We've got a little tiny crew cabin down accessed over here. I will show you that, but I'm going to take you inside first of all, but when we get on the decks, we'll look at that as well. Aft cockpit is here. What they've done with this is they've put a blind that can come down here, so if you're stern to berthed against the quay or you just want a bit of shade, you can have that. But also, as well as that, there's a canopy that goes into this rail here and wraps all the way around, comes down to the side, so if you want to enclose all of this all the way around, then you can do. And then we've got the table obviously just here for dining. You can put some chairs around here. This is engine access in the centre, and yes, of course, we'll do that as well. But let me take you inside first of all. We've got the three-piece doors, so they slide right back against that side, as you can see, to really open this area out. And it is, as these things mostly are, I think the larger ones aren't, but most of the medium range ones have the galley aft. This one has exactly that. And again, you know, it's obviously it's the 48, it's smaller than the galley you'll find on a 64, but you've still got all the features. You've still got the dishwasher, for example, in here, obviously cooking, the oven, lots of storage about the place, and in fact they've even tucked it away into places like this for your cups, espresso cups in there. You can tell it's an Italian boat, can't you? There's storage up here as well. There we go. And then on the other side we have the fridge, we have the freezer, we have the wine cooler, and we have a bit more storage. I like the fact they've gone with these light woods, but then there's these dark features like this. It doesn't look bland. It gives it a bit of contrast. You can see it around here as well. That I think works well. There's the TV that rises out of here, and look how long these windows are. What's great about these, and we're actually getting the effect a little bit today, we don't normally, is you can see on this side, when you're out at sea, this is the kind of view that you get. And I think that's quite relevant. People often look at these boats and say, oh, it's a little bit bland inside. Well, it's not actually when you're out on the water, because you're not looking at the inside. This is what you want to see. You want this to be all nice and muted, and you want that to be your focus all the way around. When you're at anchor, that is absolutely brilliant. There's two steps up here, so that raises you up into this area. Also gives you a bit more headroom down in the cabins underneath, of course, but it means you've got great views from here as well. And then underneath here, there's more storage. This is giving us things like, hang on, find the right little button, there we go. Crockery storage and glasses is in here. There we are. And again, you're getting that mix. This has got the high gloss along here, and then the matte lighter finish here. I think that works well. If you come right on forward, you can see there's blinds that drop down over these windows. And the other thing they fitted is an electric drop window on this side, which is nice. So we can hit that button there. And that gives us a bit more fresh air. This is the control panel here. So it's giving us the circuit breakers for all of the ship systems and also all of the mains voltage systems. Yeah, so we've got the 240 volt stuff here, and we've got, as I say, all the ship stuff. 24 volt is along the top one here. All nice and get-outable. And then here, of course, is the helm. Now, another nice Navetta feature, and I mentioned it's got pretty much all of them, and clearly if you go to the bigger boats you get a little bit more, but it does have the side door, which is excellent, so you've got access from here straight out onto the side deck. It's good for short-handed sailing, but it's also really good for ventilation, through flow of air, that kind of thing. There's a camera system on this one. It's a high-spec boat, this one, actually. And then we've got the operating system on here, so we can go into things like the bilges on here, we can go into levels on here, we can go into sensors. These are fire sensors dotted around the place, so you can obviously check all of those. You can also dial up on these screens navigation and all the usual bits and pieces you can get on the multifunction screens. So these are the twin Garmin screens, and then we've got the Volvo Penta dedicated to engine instrumentation on that one. Also, bow thruster on here with a hold function, which is nice, and we've got IPS on these. All of the Absolute boats are IPS. They're very, very up on that because they literally fit it to every boat they build. VHF radio is there, and then hard switches along here for things that are not accessed through here to give you direct access on it. That sort of made sense, didn't it? Again, a very Navetta feature to have the upright windscreen. That gives that slight trolley yacht vibe, and we've got the big magnetic compass here as well. Let's head on down to the lower deck. Now again, it's a Navetta thing where they do this sort of half deck. So we come down here and we come halfway down to this level, and then you can see it goes on down, and then the owner's cabin is up here in the bow. And again, we're getting the benefit of these big windows up here because the view out, and it's nice to be able to see this actually for a change. Let me see if I can wind this right the way up for you. There we go. Let's get the full advantage of this. Because this is what we miss. You know, normally we look at these boats and I say, oh, there's a great view out normally, but there's boats alongside, so we're not getting it at the minute. Well, today we are. Look at this. So this is what you kind of wake up to, really, a view like that. Obviously, you know, possibly slightly less industrial than Southampton water, but plenty of blue, plenty of shimmering, and plenty of loveliness. And that is really what this is all about when you're staying on these boats. That's where you want to be, not in a harbour, but out at sea somewhere, anchored somewhere nice. What have we got here? Well, first to mention that these panels, you'll see a few of these dotted around, these are for TVs. So if you want to have a television, that's where it would go. And in fact, these are all pre-wired. So the wiring for it, the power and the aerial and all that sort of stuff is already behind there. So you don't have to have it if you don't want it. It just comes like that. But if you do, you don't have to rip everything apart to get the wiring through to it. It's there already. We've got a nice walk-in wardrobe here. And that chap there is a ladder, obviously. And the reason for that is because it's for this hatch here, because it's obviously an emergency route out, as well as opening for ventilation or light or whatever. But if you were using it as an emergency, it's actually quite difficult to levitate yourself up through that. So that gives you a very helpful little step up. Dressing table here. And then we've got, obviously, walk around the bed, bedside tables. There's drawers under the bed as well. So they're all the way around, really good size. Like this, and another of those great windows there. This one's a view back into the boat show, of course, so not quite as spectacular, but nonetheless still very nice. And then if we come right round this side, by offsetting the bed, because in the past they would always put the bed on the centre line, but by offsetting it you've ended up with a nice square room, because obviously the holes come into the bow like this, and then the bed, as I say, traditionally they would fit in the centre, but by putting it just there, you've got the wall at 90 degrees and this wall is at almost 90 degrees. So it gives it that proper bedroom feel. Pocket door, absolutely very big on pocket doors. So that just slides across like that. For those who don't know what a pocket door is, it disappears into a pocket. And then the heads is here. So this is ensuite just for this cabin. So you've got your sink, you've got your loo of course over on this side, and then there's a separate shower in through here. There we go. It's nicely done, isn't it? And they've even fitted a little mirror wave. There we are. But the big news about putting the owner's cabin here, where traditionally they would normally put it in the centre and have it the full beam of the boat further back, is that that full beam gives you space for two more really decent cabins. So rather than having bunk beds in one of the cabins, which is often the way on a sub 50-foot boat, this has got a proper twin berth, side-by-side beds, cabin, proper headroom all the way through, like this. So it's about 6 foot of headroom. And yeah, it doesn't feel like you're being squashed into a cupboard with this one. It's a proper space. Wardrobe is up here. Thusly. But that is a very, very nice cabin 3 for a sub 50-foot boat. And we can come around this side. This is just access to some of the systems. Like this, in this case, gives you access to the top of a tank, and that would look like a sender to me, giving you the for the gauge, contents gauge. That's what I tried to spit out. And then day heads is here. So this is straight from the bottom of these steps as you come down, but also, of course, at night these two cabins would share that one. Something very throaty sounding outside. Hang on, I have to have a look. Oh, look, 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 look. Let's go and look at this. I believe I'm right in saying what you're looking at there is a World War II search and rescue boat. They were super fast, and if a plane ditched in the channel, that would be going out to get the pilot. Oh, I thought that sounded good. Nice. There we are. Back to the business in hand. Hope you'll forgive me that little interruption. So yeah, we've seen cabin 3, we've seen the day heads, which is shared by cabin 3 and cabin 2. This also has a shower, and that's tucked in behind here. Some nice packaging actually on this. There's a decent footprint in here. And then this is cabin 2, and again a really good size, proper double bed. And they've been clever with this, because you see how the floor here, you see how high this is. Now of course you could raise that up, but then you have to raise the ceiling up and the whole boat would get ridiculously tall. If you bring it down, well then of course that brings the height of the boat down, but you start losing headroom below it. So what they've done rather cleverly is utilize this area underneath here that goes around there, and what that does is give full standing headroom around here, because that's going underneath of that dinette area. So I can walk around here with plenty of headroom, no problem whatsoever. But then that floor there, which is at head height, isn't a problem, because there's steps. We're dropping down into the V of the hull here, and again we can carry on walking around then with no difficulty. That's a clever bit of packaging. This one here is another really good size walk-in wardrobe. Look at that. And again, bear in mind, this is not the owner's cabin, this is cabin 2 on a sub 50-foot boat. Brilliant, isn't it? So that's that. Let's come right back into here. There we go. You can close that now and find there's no latch on the inside. Oh, there is. Phew. Can you imagine that? What up to Nick? Don't know. I saw he was on Absolute. What, the one that's headed to the south of France on a ship now? Yeah, that one. That's a nice cabin, and again you've got the hull window, of course, so you've got that beautiful shimmering light through there. That's fantastic, isn't it? We've got the dressing table, and then we've got a bit more storage over here, but not here. I thought those might be storage areas, they're not. So it's just that big one that we saw over there, and then a little one down here like this. But that's absolutely fine, because that's a massive one, the one we actually got literally inside of. But yeah, check out this view again. This is what it's all about, isn't it? I'm glad to show you this, because as I say, we normally see these things jammed up against other boats, and I say when you're out at sea it looks much nicer. Well, that gives you an idea. But that's a decent cabin, isn't it? Like that. Another mirror over there. Can't help myself. Again, you've got this mix of the high gloss dark wood and the matte finished lighter wood, and then the cream upholstery. So it's interesting, but it's not overbearing. Brilliant. Let's press on a bit further, shall we? I think we've covered that fairly well. Let's go out the back and up the side, I think, and work our way around. We'll go this side so we can get right around the boat. I'm going to say those are almost certainly for stern rope handling winches. It looks like that's designed specifically for that. Quite nice deep bulwark side decks on here. You can see how it's cut away so that you keep that view. Again, it's another thing I talk about, isn't it? Let's have a look and I'll show you. There we go. So from here, for example, rather than just having GRP along there, you've got that view out through that, which is excellent. Also got the overhang on these as well, which is great, because it just gives you that sort of that super yacht vibe, doesn't it? We've got fillers underneath here, thusly, for your diesel, one each side, and then we can go right up to the bow. And here we've got sunbathing. Now what they've done with this quite cleverly is that these chaps here at the back, you can lift these right out. I wonder if I can show you. Not very easily with one hand, to be honest. But with two hands you can lift that out and you can slot it back in, and it goes into these here. One here, there's two of them obviously, and one there. What you do is you rotate these round 180 degrees so that that is at this side, and that then gives you seating across the front. So if you want to sit here looking out over the bow, then you can do. And that is the hatch that we saw over that forward cabin. And people say, well, How does that work if you've got sunbathing cushions over it? Well, it works like that. This is attached at the front here, but it's not attached at the back, so it just pushes up out the way as you open it. That's how that works. Cup holders here, you'll be excited to know. And look at this eyebrow over the windscreen. Again, it's very trawler yacht, isn't it? And it gives you a bit of shade into there then, compared to sort of the sloping windows that you often get on boats of this type. Fabulous. Let's press on right to the front. Oh, we've got an ultra anchor on this one. Look at this. It's a mark of quality, isn't it? That's a nice big anchor, that. Lovely. And it's got the swivel, I was going to say. It's got the, I can't even say it now, flip swivel. This is so that as the anchor comes up, if it's the wrong way around, so it's, you know, that fluke is facing forward and therefore it's going to go in upside down. As it starts to turn, that will flip it the right way up and bring it in properly. Clever stuff it is. Clever stuff. Anchor, chain locker is in here, and also the controller for the anchor winch is there as well, and the manual winch also. There we go. Fantastic. Let's take a look from here. That's a purposeful looking boat, isn't it? Okay, we'll trundle back down this side. This is interesting, the way this go up this way here is like a step up to where the sunbeds are. Quite like that. And then this is the Fusion stereo. It's a remote control for the Fusion system. So I'm going to say there must be speakers up here somewhere. You would think. I don't know where though. Yes, I do. They're under here, under the overhang. Cunning. Let's press on. So steps down this side, and this is the door that comes out from the helm position. It's very helpful. And we can come right on back down here. We've got the waste tank drain there. Not a drain as such, it's where you plug something in to suck the contents out, and another, oops, try again, another diesel filler on this side. There we go. I like the way they put a boat hook in here as well, ready to go. That's quite clever. Superb. Right, back we go and up we go. We've got Flybridge to look at now. That's straight up here. These little single discs are lights, so that's giving you illumination up here at night, which is rather nice. And then up here again, this is actually a pretty decent size. Look at this. So we've got seating all the way around the back, around this table. Of course, you can put a couple of director's chairs on this side. That gives you a lovely dining area high up. This is an option, I believe. I think as standard, you just get this open. This is an option. You can also have an option that's got a sliding opening section in the center of it, if you prefer. And then there's a further option where you can have solar panels built in to the top surface of that to give a bit of charge into your battery. So there's a few options with regard to the hardtop. And over here we have griddle, sink, and that of course just comes around like this, and then underneath it is fridge, and that one's just a bit of storage. And that's the canopy for up here, so that's quite helpful. There we go. Helm position is here. What's quite nice is they brought these seats back, but then round, so people can sit here, put their feet up, facing forward, join the whoever's at the helm. Lovely. Now this is very much an owner-operator size of boat. I say there is a little overflow cabin, which I'll show you, but you're not going to have crew on this size boat. Not permanent anyway. Multifunction displays as before. Bow thruster control again underneath here. And then we've got the IPS joystick and the engine controls, which need to be neutral. Oh, the OCD. Let's straighten that as well. Perfect. Right, nobody touch this ever again. Still slightly crooked. There we are. That's the Fusion stereo control again, so we've got control of that up here. And then the view out over the bow is like this. So when you're up here, actually, you've got a really decent view all the way around the boat. And what's quite nice is, with the engine controls here, I can hold onto these, or the IPS joystick, and I can look down the stairs and I can actually see the back of the boat there, where the trailing edge of the bathing platform is. There is a camera system, so you can watch it through the camera if you want, but I think it's really nice just to be able to look down and see exactly where you're placing the boat. This is a drop-down section, and that obviously makes an awful lot of sense if you have the cockpit enclosed with that canopy that I mentioned, then what you don't want is the rain pouring down through here, so that closes off to shelter that. There's covers that go over these bits of upholstery around here, and I think you can have an all-over cover as well, so if you're leaving the boat for the winter, you can literally just cover the whole darn shooting match over. Right, let's come down here, like these little stainless steel drains they've got about the place. And I like the gentle curve on this stairway as well, that's rather nice. There we go. Last thing to talk about, no, not the last thing to talk about. I'm going to show you the crew cabin before I forget. As I say, I'm calling it a crew cabin. It's not really, it's an overflow cabin. It's somewhere for, all together now, daughter's boyfriend, here we go. So this is a watertight door, you can see the seal for it there. It's been a long day. And here we go. As I say, we're back to what I said when we first came on. This is a sub 50-foot boat. It's not a crew boat, it's an owner-operated boat. However, there's a little bed down here, there's the loo down here, there's a sink down here. So for an unruly teenager or an extra person just for the occasional night, it does the job. You wouldn't want to spend a fortnight down here perhaps, but it's absolutely fine as an overflow cabin. And the other thing that we have here then is the laundry facilities there down here as well, which again is unusual on this size of the boat. They're normally in the main accommodation somewhere, so that's rather nice. You can, if you prefer, if you think this is a waste of time, I don't want a cabin down there, I'd rather have storage, well then you can have that instead, of course. But most people tend to opt for this because you can still store things in here. Of course, you could even take that mattress off and put some big Tupperware boxes on there if you wanted to instead, but it gives you the facility for having that extra space if it's ever needed. Decent windows down here as well, look at this, and that one at that end is an opening window for a bit of ventilation. And there's blinds, of course. That's these little chaps here. There we go. So it's a perfectly functional cabin, and in fact, full standing headroom in here as well. So it's fine, it's usable. As I say, you just probably wouldn't want to use it for a month at a time. There we go, air conditioning controls and power sockets and USBs, etc. Let's go and look at the engines. There's that little window that we saw. These lift to open, incidentally, that's how they stay closed or open. They quite a clever mechanism. It's very, very simple. It just drops down into there like that, and that now is firmly shut, but if you lift it, then you can open it. There we are. We're always learning, aren't we? I'll pop my shoes back on for this. Now, I mentioned earlier that Absolute only build boats with IPS. And so they're very, very experienced in terms of IPS layouts. And that is why when we go in here, there we are, which I've just locked, there we are. No, what am I doing wrong here then? Oh, really? Oh. I can't get this open. Help! Needs a man to do it, that's what it needs. Oh! I am an idiot. Do you know what? That is ridiculous. It's a good job I can edit that out later, isn't it? Dear. I mean, it's beyond obvious, isn't it? Really. Moving on, swiftly.
I'll get you a minute.
Thank you very much. What a prat. Me, not you. Okay, let's talk about engines. You know I'm not going to edit that out later, don't you? All right. These are the engines. He says, trying to recover composure. They're a pair of IPS 650s. They're based on the D6 block, which is the 5.5 litre. And they are 480 horsepower each. They're giving the boat about high 20s. I think about 29 knots, I reckon they got out of this. Lightly loaded. And so cruising's going to be in the low 20s. And the range, I don't have the exact range figures, but I'm going to make an educated guess at about 250 miles, somewhere around there. Somewhere between 200 and 300-ish. At planing speeds, as ever, drop the speeds right back. If you're doing displacement speeds, you'll probably triple that. But a thing I want to talk about in here, and I keep mentioning the fact that these guys only deal in IPS boats, so they know the best sort of configurations. Look how far apart these engines are from each other. That's incredible. I mean, that gap is normally half of that, or even a third of that. And the reason for that is, if you imagine this is the boat here, this is actually the generator, but imagine this is the boat. If your IPS pods are close together, imagine the amount of leverage you've got in trying to maneuver this whole boat. Now imagine take one out to here and one out to here, and then start pushing and pulling with them, and you can figure very easily just how much more leverage you get and how much more maneuverability as a result you get. So that's why they're like that. It's quite a nice engine room, this, actually. We've got that little chap up there in the corner is the camera, so you can keep an eye on this through that multifunction display. Batteries are over here. We've got, I think that's probably the water pump down there. We've got the Victron battery charging over here. These are the fuel tanks up on the forward bulkhead, and we've got fuel filters are on these as well. And that one there, I think I'm right in saying, is the air conditioning system. This little chap here. There we go. It's well lit though, isn't it? Little lights there. Little lights there. Fantastic. Good. Well, I think that's a fairly comprehensive tour. We've also learned quite a lot today about how stupid I am. So I think we'll call that a wrap, shall we? Let's head back out of here. That one there is a manual backup bilge pump. And there we go, there's a handle that goes in there. If all else is lost, you have the ability to still carry on pumping the bilge manually. Obviously there are electric automatic pumps, and they would normally deal with any water in there, but you have got that as a backup. Well, as the saying has it, the most effective bilge pump in the world is a panicking man with a bucket. And there we go. Let's hope it never gets to that stage for any of us. Let's close both of these. Put that back over. Fool the next person. There's storage in there. There we go, canopies again. And that, my friends, is about the size of that. Let's take a wander back up to the bow. Past that side door. And we'll finish off up here. Oh, what a day. Look at this. It's fabulous. And there we go. Massive, massive thanks to Approved Boats. They're dealers for these in the UK. They've organised this tour. A massive, massive thanks as ever to you guys for watching it. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. Let me know what you think of my abilities to open engine room hatches in the comments, and we'll catch you on one of these real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.